It's a chilly morning in 1692 in the small Puritan village of Salem, Massachusetts. The sun rises slowly, casting long shadows over the gathering crowd. In the center of the square, a young woman stands on a wooden platform with a rope around her neck and her hands bound. The townspeople, eyes filled with a mixture of fear, suspicion, and grim satisfaction, watch as the executioner approaches. Accused of witchcraft, she's been found guilty in a trial that lasted mere hours. There was no fair defense, no concrete evidence, only the spectral accusations of those who claim to see her consorting with the devil. As the noose tightens, the accused looks out over the crowd, her voice rising in a final cry for justice. But her pleas fall on deaf ears. In this time and place, fear outweighs reason, and superstition trumps justice. The trapdoor beneath her feet opens, and she falls, a grim reminder of the power of hysteria and the price of unfounded accusations. This was Salem in 1692, a community gripped by terror and paranoia. Over the course of a year, more than 200 people were accused and 20 were executed in one of the darkest chapters of American history. But how did it come to this? What drove a community to such madness? And most importantly, what lessons can we learn from this tragic past? To understand the Salem Witch Trials, we must first understand the world in which they occurred. The late 17th century was a time of great uncertainty and fear. The Massachusetts Bay Colony was facing political instability, economic hardship, and threats from nearby Native American tribes. These external pressures, combined with internal social and religious tensions, created a fertile ground for suspicion and paranoia. In 1626, English colonial settlers arrived at Naumkeag, a traditional Native American fishing site, to establish an outpost for the Massachusetts Bay Colony. Most of these settlers were Puritans, intent on purifying the Church of England by eliminating Roman Catholic practices and creating a utopian society. They renamed the area Salem, inspired by Jerusalem, which means City of Peace. These Puritans of Salem lived in a world where the supernatural was very real and ever-present. They believed that the devil was constantly at work, seeking to corrupt and destroy their godly community. This belief was reinforced by their strict religious doctrine, which saw the world in stark terms of good and evil. Any deviation from the norm was seen as a threat to the community's spiritual and social order. In such an environment, it didn't take much to spark a wave of hysteria. It all began in early 1692 when a group of young girls in Salem Village started exhibiting strange, erratic behavior. Fits, contortions, and uncontrolled screaming. The local doctor, unable to find a physical cause, declared them bewitched. The girls soon began accusing various townspeople of witchcraft, igniting a wave of paranoia and fear. In the 17th century, a witch was defined as someone who agreed to serve the devil in opposition to the Christian church. On February 29th, 4 men and 4 girls went to Salem town to file accusations against 3 women: Sarah Good, Sarah Osborne, and Tituba. Sarah Good was a homeless woman known for her unpleasant demeanor who maintained her innocence even as she faced trial. Yet the unforgiving courts found her guilty, and on July 19, 1692, she met her fate at the gallows. Sarah Osborne, an elderly woman who rarely attended church, fell victim to the brutal conditions of the jail before her trial could even commence. Bedridden, she passed away on May 10, 1692, a tragic casualty of the harsh confinement she endured. Tituba, an enslaved woman hailing from the Caribbean, found herself pressured into confessing to witchcraft under the weight of unbearable compulsion. Her confession, packed with fantastical tales of diabolic activities, only served to inflame the already heightened hysteria surrounding the Salem Witch Trials. Though in prison, Tituba was spared the gallows. It was only with the aid of an anonymous benefactor who paid her jail fees that she was eventually released. Yet beyond her release, Tituba's fate fades into obscurity, leaving us to reflect on the uncertain paths she may have walked in the aftermath of the trials. The trials themselves were a mockery by today's standards. The accused were often presumed guilty from the start, with evidence ranging from the tangible to the intangible. One particularly obscure form of evidence was spectral evidence, testimony that the spirit or ghost of the accused was seen committing acts of witchcraft. During the trial of Bridget Bishop, one of the first to be executed for witchcraft, several young girls claimed to see her spectral form tormenting them. They described vivid encounters where Bishop's ghost would appear in their bedrooms, urging them to sign the devil's book and tormenting them with special pinches and scratches. Despite Bishop's claims of innocence, the mere mention of these spectral visitations was enough to sway the court's opinion. This form of evidence was particularly sinister because it was impossible to refute. How could one defend themselves against accusations based on dreams and visions? Moreover, the accuser's testimonies were often taken at face value, with little to no scrutiny or cross-examination. In addition to spectral evidence, other forms of proof included the discovery of so-called witch marks, supposed physical signs of a pact with the devil, such as moles, birthmarks, or scars, and the possession of puppets or dolls, which were believed to be used by witches to inflict harm upon their victims. These seemingly harmless objects, combined with the power of suggestion and fear, became damning evidence in the eyes of the court. Interrogations were intense and coercive. The accused were pressed to confess and name other witches, leading to a series of accusations. Like Rebecca Nurse, who was a highly respected member of the Salem community. She was known for her piety, kindness, and dedication to her family. Despite her impeccable reputation, Nurse became a target of accusations during the witch trials. It's believed that her status as a devout member of the church made her an unlikely suspect in the eyes of the accusers. However, the hysteria of the trial spared no one. Nurse found herself ensnared in the web of suspicion. Nurse's trial was particularly controversial. Many members of the community, including prominent figures, vouched for her innocence and character. However, in the climate of fear and paranoia that gripped Salem, such testimonies often fell on deaf ears, and she was ultimately convicted of witchcraft and sentenced to death. Over the course of the trials, a total of 20 people were executed for witchcraft. 19 of them were hanged, while one individual, Giles Corey, was pressed to death with heavy stones. In addition to the 20 individuals who were executed, several others died while awaiting trial or in jail. Now, let's reflect on what caused this outbreak of hysteria. There were actually several factors that came together to create the perfect storm. Salem was a community filled with tension. Disputes over property, local rivalries, and political instability all contributed to the climate of fear. But perhaps the most significant factor was religious extremism. You see, the Puritans' strict religious beliefs played a crucial role in shaping the worldview of the community. To them, their settlement in Salem was not just a physical relocation, but a spiritual mission to establish a city upon a hill, a shining example of a godly society. The Puritans believed in a stark division between good and evil, with little room for ambiguity or compromise. They viewed the world as a battleground between God and Satan, and any deviation from their strict religious norms was seen as a direct threat to their divine mission. Witchcraft, in particular, was perceived as an assault on their religious and social order. In the aftermath of the trials, families were torn apart, reputations were destroyed, and many innocent people lost their lives. But the impact extended beyond Salem. The Salem Witch Trials had profound effects on American legal practices. The use of spectral evidence was heavily criticized, leading to its eventual removal from court proceedings. The trials also prompted the development of better legal protections, such as the right to legal representation and the presumption of innocence. The lessons learned from this dark chapter in history continue to shape our understanding of the importance of protecting individual rights and ensuring a fair trial for all.